Hello and welcome to another episode of Colorful, where we talk about identity in a divided world. My name is Senamile Zungu and I am back joined in studio by my ultimate favorite human being in the world. Hello bestie, unjani?
Ngiyaphila.
It's so
Wena
good to be
unjani?
back. Ngiyaphila. All the more better now that you're back. It's
Even
so
me.
good to be in studio with you.
Oh, bestie, I am so happy to be in studio with you. I am so happy to be in studio with our guest today because you know what I love? You know, this new algorithm or this evolving algorithm, how it favors content that's actually interesting.
Yeah.
Hey? And in studio today, we have somebody whose algorithm has helped him to become, or the algorithm helped him to take advantage of the incredible content he was creating that speaks about stuff that is so relevant today. Masculinity, pop culture, identity, challenging, intentional, and the type of stuff that we really need to speak about more. I'm so happy to have you in studio. Hey?
Oh my God.
Lethabo.
Hey.
I think I told you offline that we've been obsessed with you. Like, I am obsessed with you as someone who is like chronically on TikTok.
Yeah.
I cannot believe you're here. Welcome to Colorful.
Thank you for having me again. I'm super excited to be here too. First podcast I've been on this year, so super excited.
Really?
Super excited.
I think it's like the first of many because, like, as a guest, but I know that you have your own podcast and you're a podcast host. But one of my favorite things about your content is I've actually never met someone who brings so much nuance to TikTok.
Oh, really?
Like, no, like your videos are averaging like 8-10 minutes, and you know that algorithm is like quick and everything, so everything is
Yes.
sensationalized, and you take the time to make that. That's incredible and keep me gripped every second.
Yeah, I don't know. I think back in high school, right, a teacher of mine told me, you know, if you want to express something, Twitter's not the best place to do it because you can't say a complex idea in 150 characters. And I think I've lived with that my entire life, that this is complex. And if I need to speak about it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 14 minutes, let me take the time. Because if I limit it to just the first 2 minutes, no one's going to understand a word of what I'm saying. I won't even understand it either. So, yeah.
That sounds so much like you.
That is so me. Can I tell you, I struggle so much. Like, Stacy says to be like, finish your sentences. But you know when your brain is processing so much information.
Exactly.
And like, I feel like I'm the type of person as well that to like analyze all these different dynamics. I mean, there's in a conversation, in a room of people, there's power dynamics and like it's catching my brain and I want to comment on it succinctly. Then I just end up not saying anything.
Yeah.
It's word salad.
It's word salad.
But you do that better than anyone we know. So thank you for
Thank
coming to
you.
studio today.
Okay, Lethabo.
Yes.
So we have a bottle of red nail polish. We love red because red is all about like being bold and saying the things you want to say.
Yeah.
It challenges, it stands out. So that's it's also our brand color.
Yeah.
It's a good brand color. And so we ask our guests if they would mind having one hand of nails painted red
Of course.
in solidarity with bold conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, cool. So good. So I'm going to paint your nail because what we have found with our guests is that it's really difficult for them to paint their own nails and hear us at the same time and
the
answer
same
our
time.
questions. So we're taking on something new where
Yeah.
I'm going to paint your nails and you guys
Perfect.
have a little chat while we're at it.
Yeah, let's have a little chat.
Perfect.
We were speaking about the rings. Like, I don't know if you guys can see the rings, but we're talking about the millennial influence on the rings. Stacey
we
is a
go.
millennial that has influenced me. I can't go without them.
Yeah.
Like, they are like they're the thing right now. But I wanted to say, whenever we ask our guests like to have like their red nails painted, specifically men, like some are such good, but we've had the most amazing men come on this podcast, but clearly red and seeing a red nails painted on a man projects something. In light of that, what do you think people project onto you when they meet you?
Oh my gosh, I think a lot of people see me as this very serious person, right? They think anytime is like political time. And I think sometimes people tend to like walk around eggshells with me. I remember when I went to this event like last November and this girl was like, oh my gosh, like I follow you on TikTok. And I was scared to say hi because what if I said something offensive? And then what if next week you went online and you're like, guys, people these days, the microaggressions are crazy. So I think like because of that, everyone sees me as this like very out of reach person. But I think once they get to like, you know, I don't even think they need to peel off a layer. Just say hello to me. You'll realize, oh my gosh, he's just a 22-year-old, like every other 22-year-old on the planet. Like, yeah.
I think it's the being smart. Like you're insanely like I was speaking to someone, one of the people in the studio, and I was like, I'm having Lethabo coming in today. It's like, yeah, smart, hey? And I think it's like it's a tinge of like, okay, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I find there is also admiration in someone saying the things that you feel like you can't articulate, but instinctively feel. And I feel like what you're able to do, or the gift that you have, is you're really able to put the vocabulary to experiences or things that a lot of us see, but don't necessarily know how to put our finger on it. Like you made this one video on TikTok that I was laughing at so hard. You were like, you know, when men have like 6 different children with different baby mamas, like we say that they are building families, and but when women do it, it's like, who's gonna marry you like that? And it's things that we live through so much that are so pervasive, these dynamics, that no one really calls out. So I think it becomes super refreshing, and also, like admirable.
Thank you.
And I think it's fascinating because it is challenging content. And that's my point. It's like you're creating the type of content that the algorithm is favoring.
Yes.
So there is interaction with that level of consideration and articulation. And I like the fact that you draw on like really funny examples to explain a concept. But it's really cool that it works.
Thank you, because I think it's important to not isolate people. I think with academicism, right, people are shut out. Things are worded in such a difficult way. And also the examples given never relate to people's day-to-day. Like someone might explain to you misogyny, but can't make you see how it affects your mom, your sister, or women online, or just women in general. And men too, and how it keeps them in a prison. Someone will explain it as this thing that was invented on Twitter, and I'm like, no.
Or even just use it as a way to describe horrible men.
Yeah.
But you need the relatability to understand how pervasive it is and how systemic it actually is and how we've probably internalized it in bits and pieces ourselves.
You know, I love to like tell people that firstly, when you come and interact with content, it's produced by women, produced by men. With men, you're very respectful. You're like, even if you don't like what they said, you don't like what they're wearing, it's, hey chief, hey my guy, I don't really appreciate this.
Good man.
Right? This is not the one. But when a woman says something that you don't like, why is your first thing to insult her? And I'm like, you see?
That's subtle. See
it's
that right
subtle.
there?
You didn't think about it. Maybe you don't even, but I didn't mean it like that. I mean, it's a woman, dog. And I'm like, exactly. It's a woman, dog. Why is it because it's a woman, it's appropriate to speak like that? But if it's a man, you kind of need to watch your tone, like, will I offend this person? Will I make them mad? Will I, it's stuff like that. It's like, and I think people need to interrogate it from that point of view. Like, what do I do? What do other people do? It's not always about what we see on social media, but like, how do I uphold this myself? And how do I call it out within myself first? And then we can move forward, I guess,
You know, when, in fact, Bestie and I were chatting about this the other day, in the workplace. Like we work in the same office.
Yes.
And we were just talking about how when women take on positions of leadership, the first thing someone will say to that woman in the position of leadership is, just be careful, like you got to toe this line about being firm, but don't come across as a bitch. So when you say no, do it with all this flowery language and whatever, so that the person you're saying no to doesn't quite get the fact that you're saying no, because as soon as you say no, you're a bitch. And it's like, if it were the other way around, man's going to tell you exactly what he means. And it's just going to be like, he's in a bad mood, or wow, that's so firm. Or
decisive
like,
leadership.
That's actually what I meant. Yeah, you're right. And it's like, anyway, so yeah, but it's about the example so that you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think an example I like to give is how Annalise Keating was portrayed, right?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. Please comment on this.
Right? I have like an example of that is that, yes, she's a complex character. Yes, the show in itself is complex. But I'm like, do you see how women are framed if they have to be the lecturer, the top lawyer? She has to be cold, withdrawn, and she's not very maternal, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, the only other space given to women to not be that is she's either super submissive and cannot take up space, but if she takes up space, she's too cold. And I'm like, think about that. I'm like, look at Annalise Keating. I'm like, she's the perfect example of how that affects women.
Yeah.
I'm like, she could have easily been maternal and been the top lawyer, easily been friendly and also been a good lecturer. but they wrote it in a way that is like, no, 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 no. If you're a woman and you're a boss, we have to like all hate you to take you seriously, but we can't laugh at you and still respect you. And I think that's not fair.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that is so beautifully articulated.
All the time, Lethabo, we talk about this because I think we expect women to be categorized in these two extremes, right? So it's exactly that. If you are the boss woman that you're saying you are, you better embody these masculine characteristics.
Exactly.
But if you're going to be like just a girl, you're ditzy. And so the argument, I mean, you know, Stacy and I have gotten into these dynamics of like, we love talking about the fact that we're such high achievers in our own rights in our professional lives. It's very, very obvious that we're so passionate about so many things, but we are not embodying masculine characteristics.
Exactly.
We love openness,
And
we love empathy.
So purposeful about that. Like, we're constantly commenting on the fact that there's about 4 pairs of shoes in the back seat that while we're driving around Joburg, like changing shoes because of, you know, the pedals and like literally just living our authentic lives. But that's not to say that you take us any less seriously in the studio or in the office.
Exactly. And I think what's really unfair is that men are allowed to show up as anything, right? Men are allowed to be malleable and evolve and change. Funny enough, because they're so resistant to change and evolution. But people welcome that, right? It's also like, even with these irrelevant body count conversations, right? I'll say to people, okay, fine, a woman cannot be allowed to be a boss in this, right? She has to be one thing. And also, if a woman were to transition from, okay, she was once more quiet, now she's going up to take space, we are not welcoming to that change. But if a man was once an abuser and now he's not,
let him
change. Let him be a new person, guys.
He said he's sorry.
He said he's sorry.
Ouch, this is hurting.
This is really... I also didn't expect us to get into it like that, guys.
No, can I ask you a question though? Okay, so I'm really curious about this.
Yes.
You spoke about how your dad was very distant in your upbringing.
Yes.
So you were basically raised by women.
Yes.
So maybe, tell us a little bit about that. First of all, like, where were you born?
Okay, so my parents were married in 2003 or 2, whatever. And my biological mother passed away, right? And so I was like semi-adopted and then raised by my mom right now. And because of that, my dad felt like, and again, I think he's my first example of like men being allowed to not do what they have to do. So my dad growing up said that he didn't really feel called to fatherhood. He didn't really feel called to responsibility, and he didn't really understand why the women in his family ever expected him to like take up the role of being a single dad, and that it was better if someone else, you know, took me in as their problem. And so because of that, I've kind of like grown up with a man I had to constantly negotiate a relationship with. Like, I remember as early as 8 crying after visiting him during holidays. Like, oh my gosh, I remember telling my mom at 8, I was like, I don't think my dad loves me. And I was like in tears. And my mom was like, that's a crazy thing to say. You're 8 years old. Where are you hearing that? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like he doesn't get me because I had this like toy car, but like he was very nice to his friend's son because he was really into soccer and whatever. And never really had like the time for me, never the time for my interests. And even when I got to high school, I was that kid who was doing everything. I was in choir, debating, public speaking, all of the things. He didn't come to a single one because he felt like none of those things were of interest to him. So he's like, if I don't like it, I don't know why I should support it, you know? And so I think because of that, I spent like the longest time trying to like prove to myself, to people that like everything I do, everything I am should be celebrated, whatever. And then I think when I got to like adulthood, I was like, oh well, fuck that. I was never supposed to ever be in a state of negotiation because at the end of the day, I didn't give birth to myself. Like, I don't want to have kids. And the months leading up to my birth, everyone says he was so excited to be a dad. But then once I was here, he was like, okay, I get to take photos with the kid. I don't have to do anything with the kid. And also, there was a bit of homophobia in there because when I was in high school, the first person I came out to was my mom because I felt like she was the only adult I could be safe with and around, especially because I don't really understand what's going on just yet. I just have the basic understanding of sexuality, but I'm not living anything out yet. And I need a person who's going to be a safe space, and as I discover more parts of myself, I can share them with the safe person. And I guess someone in his life, I'm not sure who, outed me to him. And then later on I found out who that person was. And what's very weird about that is that I think with the homophobia stuff, he was more worried about people's perception around him about my sexuality and not really his own idea. He didn't really have an opinion on it, but everyone gave him an opinion. And I remember telling him when I was 17, I was like, funny enough, the person who outed you to me has a child who does drugs and they enabled the habit. And when you guys try to bring that up, he said, not with my kids. And they're very protective of their own, but with you and your kid, you let other people's opinions dictate your relationship with me. And I was like, and I guess this is what I'm saying, that like men really like to be told by other men what to do. And so
I just want to pause there for a moment because that was a comment. What you've just said now was a comment to a conversation we were having just before the start of the show. I love that though. Tell us what you mean by that.
So I think what I've come to realize is that the patriarchy rides on validation, right? There should always be a man who's above you, even if they're not structurally above you, but you put them above yourself, who should say what you're doing is right or give you permission to live the way that's right. And I think with my dad, he's never been a person who has taken up much space. And I'm not saying that as a diss, but I think he's been very passive in expanding his horizons and taking agency and living his life on his own terms, because he's always been like a backseat driver. And I think the difference with me and him is that from when I was young, I've always been outspoken, right? Like my mom always said, hey, this child speaks, you know? It was like, oh my God, this child, even now, like my mom is like, when I'm scared to do anything, right? My mom's like, it's you. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not scared of anything. Just close your eyes, open them, you're gonna do it, you know? I mean, even like right now, my mom was like, I could never be a guest on a podcast with people I've never met before. And she's like, every time you're on a podcast, whatever, I roll the clip and you're like, hey guys. And so I think I've always intimidated him, right?
Wow.
Because I've always been the first example of a man, even though I wasn't a man yet, of like, you can just do what you want.
Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be validated by some other man.
And it doesn't have to be validated by a terrible man at that, you know? And I think that's always been the biggest thing with him and me, that he doesn't understand that how are you so confident living life on your own terms? And I think I've grown to see that with a lot of men as I've aged. Like, I went to an all-boys school, right? So that's what I grew up with. Men telling each other what to do, even when it's not in their best interest.
Or even when it's not like right or it's harmful.
Because it's like, it's why I think my generation as well is becoming more conservative. Apart from the economy and whatever, people are scared. I think we're the first generation to have this much freedom. And it scares people that if you have all this freedom, everything falls onto you. So at least if I'm listening to this man and he's telling me this is how to treat a girlfriend, whatever, the consequences of that are not really my own.
You didn't make that decision. It was
someone else.
It's the way that it is.
But if I take my freedom and say, this is what I'm going to do,
You're responsible.
I'm responsible.
It's just interesting to me, and you also speak about this in your content when you try and unpack patriarchy and misogyny. As a woman and being raised as well, my father is so present in my life. I have a very good relationship with my dad. He is amazing. My mom is the type of mom who had internalized a lot of misogyny. And so for me, it was really weird growing up in a household of upholding patriarchy, but it's the matriarch doing it, you know? And it's just, it's being taught to live your life through a gaze. It's implicit, it's all consuming, and you think very hard as a woman or as a young girl growing up of how are you going to mold yourself to be most desirable to the system. And that comes with a lot of mental health issues and just is so messed up. But like...
As you don't even know you're doing it.
Exactly.
I had no idea. Like, I just had absolutely no idea that all I do was... Previous me used to excuse men all day long. Yes, he did those things, but he's such a kind person. He's internally inflicted. He went to war. He experienced things no man should ever have to experience. No person should ever have to experience. And that somehow excuses the actions. But he really does love. But he really is trying. Dear God, are we not all? Like, is that not a human condition?
It's insane. And you touched up on it on the Leave recently. There was the South African boy child is being left behind, precipitated by the matric results coming out, seeing that far more women were matriculating or getting from grade 1 up until matric than young boys. And I just want to ask, how was the reception as a black young man now directly calling out these dynamics? And I'm sure a lot of men were like, I saw in the comments on TikTok, they were like, this is an age where we are being isolated. We've had discussions with some of our friends and some people that we know who say there's a real loneliness thing happening with men, and it's
Women
not to
need to stop-
invalidate all of that, but what exactly?
Women need to stop allowing men to be so lonely. Women need to go be with men so they can be less lonely. Let's center men, and then anyway, that's a different rant. I'm gonna leave that with you.
So like, you tell us, because now you are a black man in this country. You're a queer black man, and so I'm sure people are quick to invalidate what you have to say in the conversation and characterize you as feminine and knowing nothing about masculinity.
I think with a lot of the boy child being left behind, and now that we don't give men enough grace, and it's all the same thing. It's all like the male pity party, and I'm not coming, please. I think
Male pity party, I'm not coming.
I think the first problem begins with the fact that men don't do a good enough job of building meaningful relationships with women that are not sexual. Right?
Can you just say that again?
That
just
was beautiful.
look at the camera and just, because say, I've been single for about 2 years now.
Yes.
And dating is incredibly difficult. And I just think that even friendships with men that are platonic is very difficult at the moment. And please just say that again.
Men do not know how to form relationships with women that are meaningful, that are not sexual. And it's also why I say that men are really bad conversationalists. Like, you know how like people be like, oh my gosh, like men nowadays, like they slide into your DM or on a dating site, whatever, or like you meet at a bar, at a restaurant, and they're very sexual. And I'm like, yeah, it's because they don't know how to talk. And
they don't have words.
And they don't have anything to talk about, of course, right?
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Damn, that's crazy. Damn, that's crazy. Because they have nothing to say. And it's because I think the first problem is that I think going to an all-boys school, it's crazy because the girls from our sister school were my friends, and not the boys. The girls from our sister school, they were all my friends. Like, I was friends with the whole school. Like, the entire girls' school knew me, and that was so. Thank you guys.
Thank you, girls. You know we love the girls.
Girls, thank you. You carry me. Like, and I think with being friends with women early on, women invested a lot of time in having actual hobbies and interests. So I think men limit themselves to what they can dabble in based on how masculine makes them seem. So I think I've always known, right, that the whole bookworm thing makes men seem feminine because, and this is going to sound so crazy, but men kind of like have been, I guess, taught to like believe that they're the smartest in the room, no matter what, right? So the pursuit of knowledge kind of makes you seem submissive or feminine because you're implying that someone knows more than you. And I've observed that a lot with men. I'm like, no, babe, open a book. I'm like, babe, no, open a book. I mean, I've seen on Twitter, there was this lady with a PhD, right? And she was talking about something she encountered during her studies. And the man was like, are you sure? Are you sure this PhD is real? And she replied, she's like, and then she replied with like a photo of like the certificate. And she's like, how far did you get in education? I have a matric only. I'm like, you see?
And he just felt like it was okay because he's a male.
Because he's a man. So he must know more than the woman with the PhD. Because again, the pursuit of knowledge is pointless if you as a man are the smartest because you're a man.
You already know everything.
You already know everything, right? So I think that limits men because the type of books that they read are so incredibly flat that they could never read feminist literature, queer literature. Men nowadays don't even want to read fiction. They say, why am I as a man wasting 30 days reading The Hobbit when I could be reading a book on how to make money. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, again, they also think it's like feminine to acquire knowledge that doesn't teach you domination. And I think that's
Wow.
very silly. So that's like the first. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the books that men are obsessed with, we make money, this is how to get everyone in the rooms. It's all about domination and making
What's
money.
that one? How to not give a fuck about something.
Y-
What's
y-
that
the
Mark
subtle-
Manson? Yeah, the subtle art.
I read that
of-
book when I was
it's
16.
So stupid. Sorry.
I-
I don't want to get sued.
Yeah. I read the book when I was 16. I think I read it in an hour or two. After I was done, I was like, what the hell did I just read?
Or the rules of power, the 42.
Yeah, all those
What?
things. Because knowledge, if it doesn't teach you how to make money or control people, it's point. And again, even with making money, it's also about domination. Because the main reason why a lot of men want to get money is the reason's always so whack. It's always, I want to be rich so I can go to the club and buy that girl and that
Yeah.
girl. I want to get this car so I can make noise in front of. And I'm like, again, even their pursuit of money isn't rooted in anything real. So that's like the first problem. The knowledge that men limit themselves to, very pointless, very pointless, whatever. But also, I don't think men, give themselves the chance to be in someone else's shoes, right? So I think with the books that I've read in my entire life, right, I've always read books that are either queer or written by Black women, or even if it's a collection of short stories. I mean, my favorite book of 2025 was They Call Me Queer, which is a collection of queer short stories from South Africa. Another one that is a collection of queer short stories from the African continent in general. And I think you get to see other people's lived experiences, and it teaches you a lot about your own privilege and whatever. So a lot of men don't get time to really, sit and really understand what the other person is going through. And it's triggering. I mean, I was crying through that book because there were mentions of sexual abuse from people's own parents. There were mentions of substance abuse, suicide, people's witnessing, finding their parents who've killed themselves, and you really get to understand the type of world we live in. But if your world is, we make money, we get girls, we make money, we get girls, you don't give yourself a chance.
And
To experience anything new and know anything
Exactly,
new.
And you know what's devastating as you're describing that to me is that in a society like South Africa, we know how much violence is being perpetuated.
Exactly.
We know how much systemic ills live within our societies.
Yeah.
And for me, it's unconscionable, or at least a lot of Black men experience violence on so many levels just by growing up. So the little Black boy.
Yes.
So it's not like you're not without any experience. You have all of that trauma sitting in you, and as a numbing agent, it's about making money, it's about trivializing, it's about
Exactly.
dominating over the other.
Exactly.
And it makes the healing part of it, just like to be able to heal from it, it just makes it very difficult to see where are you going to start.
Exactly.
Because you're so desensitized from yourself, you've not been able to sit with yourself. And then you inflict violence on other people, and then it's just a recurring cycle.
It's also why men are so like in this loop of dating discourse. Like every day it's a dating hypothetical, because a lot of them are trying to replicate the conditions of capitalism in their intimate relationships. So I think a lot of men really see capitalism for what it is, even though they will never admit it, right? But the problem is they feel like they're not in control of anything, right? The job market, no one's job is safe. You're a few payments away from being homeless or carless, or you have to take an iPhone and pay for it for 3 years, right? So a lot of men don't feel like they control anything. And so a lot of the time when they seek out relationships with women, when they're very violent, they're trying to reclaim that control that they don't have in their own lives because of capitalism via the women that they date. And I'd even go on to argue and say that the reason why even the whole I buy a woman a drink so I'm entitled to a lay, and I was surprised, is because capitalism manufactures a lot of consent for us, right? Like a lot of money is taken from our pockets whether we want it or not, even though you're not consciously spending money on it. So they're like, well, if I buy you a drink, then technically I've bought your consent. The same way capitalism is buying my consent from a lot of things, right? And again, the problem with that, and even with the we don't give men enough grace, blah, 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 they've been oppressed for 400 years. I'm like, I can tell you, I see the oppression. I can see how capitalism, racism is oppressing men, but instead of, breaking free from it, they're recreating the same conditions that make them miserable. So how can we really say, oh my gosh, like men don't really know what they're doing when they're violent. They don't really know what they're doing. They do. They fully do. They fully do. They just don't want to say it. And I think that's something that's been like fascinating to me a lot lately, that I don't know, you can trace the roots of all of this, but again, you'd have to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to
So I
read.
want to ask you something, and I got a little bit I got a bit heated there for a moment
Yeah.
when I was mentioned it earlier. But can you comment for us on this whole male loneliness?
Yeah.
And like share your thoughts. What?
So, like, back to what I was saying earlier on about the intimate relationships with women, I think men don't give themselves a chance to connect with other human beings. Again, back to capitalism. You know how capitalism is very much we connect based on consumption.
Transaction.
Right? That's even why there's a push for us to stay home, buy everything to our house, don't go out.
Don't go out. Community,
even
relational skills.
Even with community, right? Nowadays, communities are color-coded Instagram page, right? And we're a community.
Your one-liners are unmatched.
Right? And nowadays, men cannot sit with someone and like this and just be vulnerable. I mean, I say to men all the time online when I'm like barking at them, I'm like, you guys say we don't listen, like people, like the whole green thing, right? As a counter to the purple
That
movement.
was absolutely horrific. I cannot
I
believe.
think
All lives matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Like
literally
all
all
lives
lives
matter.
matter.
I think that's a prime example of why men are so lonely, because if as a group, here's the thing. Yes, this oppression dates back to apartheid. Women in this country have been, right, oppressed in this way for decades. However, now that we've inherited this free country, it's our collective job to fix it. And the fact that men didn't see this as an opportunity, oh my God, we get to stand with women, talk to women, share with women. It's a constant competition, right? That's why they're so lonely. Because I always say to men, okay, Sharp, you say men get beaten too, men get assaulted too. But when a man shares his story, I'm like, do you have the stomach to listen to a man share his story in a group full of men? Put men in a room together, ask one to share their story of assault. The other men are going to laugh.
Yeah.
Because they haven't built enough empathy to understand the complexities of other people's emotions. So of course no one will want to commune with them, because for you to be in my community, you need to understand me. And men are committed to misunderstanding everyone and themselves. So how will they ever not be lonely? I mean, the man will say, I have a wife and 3 kids, but I feel so lonely. And I'm like, do you know your son's favorite color? No. Your son's teacher? No. Your son's favorite game on the PlayStation? No. Name 3 of your son's friends? No.
Hold your wife for something other than sex.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
do you understand your wife on a platonic? Of course you're lonely.
The relational skill, it's just so undeveloped.
It's
and
undeveloped.
I want to ask you, because you're dropping these truth bombs, right? And it's what we love about your content. But I also see a lot of, it's like you evoke these visceral reactions. Like I'll see you respond to maybe something that someone stitched, or like, or you'll be responding to something, and my algorithm doesn't take me there because I'm not on the dark thing like that. But every once in a while I'll catch, or I'll know that you are absolutely touching a nerve there.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the controversy, because you say the things that really sort of like need to be said, and I think you're also very clear in what you're not willing to engage in and what you're engaging in. So how do you cope with that?
I think for me, I don't know, like, I don't want to sound mean, but I don't have time to argue with losers. I don't have time to argue with losers. Oh my God. I think the first problem is that I think a lot of people who I've come to realize, I used to like take things very personally and seriously, when people would be like mean or whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're putting words in my mouth. I'm like, firstly, you saw the title of the video, you heard the first 5 words, and you came up with the narrative. I mean, just the other day, right? I was talking about how I think something I've always admired with like the way white children raise versus black children is that more white parents are willing to accept individuality from their kids, and that because of like past traumas, a lot of black people are living vicariously through their kids, not necessarily as always a tool of control, but because they genuinely did not have that life available to them at the time. So they kind of like redoing it with you.
Can I just say, as you're telling that story, perfect example. So Stacy's been staying with me at my parents' house over the past few days because I've moved back in with him. Yes. And my mom just said to her this morning, thank you for coming. Like, I'm so happy you came, but you can see this like beam of pride. And I said to Stace, it's because she really like never thought she would have like white friends coming and chilling at her house.
Yes.
It's such a status
She's so
symbols,
proud.
and she's so proud, but it's like uncomfortable to me because I'm like, Mom, it's just another white friend. Like, but it means so much to her, and I can tell it's just one of the many ways that I know that she has lived vicariously through me, putting me in white schools, putting me in all of these situations. And I was telling my Stacy that my mom really, really hates that I left my career in law.
Yeah.
She, like, to her, she just thinks, what do you mean? Podcasting, marketing, like, you can tell I'm such a loser in her eyes.
Because that life was not available to them, you know? And that's what I said on TikTok. This girlie comes in the comments, hey, Bo, you're saying white people are the best. I'm like, who said that? I'm like, no one said that.
Who said that?
I literally asked her. I first said, who said that? She's like, you. I'm like, if you can point me to the part in anywhere in this video. I'm like, literally no one in the comment section has said that. You're the only one, babe. And this video has been up for 2 weeks. This video has been up for 2 weeks. Not a there are over 300 comments. You're the first person to say this. If you can point me to where I said this, then she's like, actually, you're right. You didn't say that. I'm like, exactly.
Oh my God. We don't even finish the sentence.
Exactly.
Like, we don't even finish.
That's what I'm
the
saying
video.
is that people hear what I admire about white parents. Woo! 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 You said the woo!
White
and I'm like, whoa.
You're internally racist.
So I'm like, that's what I've come to realize, that with a lot of, and when I think back to like a lot of the moments where people were like very angry at me, they heard the first part of the statement and didn't give like the rest of it a chance. And if you're doing that, unfortunately, I can't do anything for you because there are 30,000 likes, 10,000 reposts, and everyone heard me. Why didn't you? You know, why didn't you? Like, everyone else did. Why didn't you, babe? Like, why didn't you hear anything? Like, everyone else did. What's stopping you? So I think the first thing is that people do not listen to the whole thing, and that's their own problem. But the second thing is that, again, losers. Men are always angry. So like, if a man is angry in my comments, I'm like, you're gonna have an early heart attack and gout anyway. I don't really care. Keep being mad in my comments.
Yep.
Like, you're giving yourself an early stroke. I'm sorry, but like, the way men engage in certain topics, I always say to people, I made a video once on my TikTok, and I was like, guys, online backlash will not faze you if you go into the profile of the person who's hating. See the content they produce and the content they repost. I once went to this person's repost, and the first thing I saw, Mac G's an icon. And I was like, of course. And I was like, of course you
That checks out.
I was like, of course when I say misogyny is wrong, you're calling me every slur under the sun. Mac G's your leader. I don't need to get mad.
My piece is said.
Yeah, I'm like, well, that'll do it. So I think it's just really understanding where the hater is coming from. And the hater is usually coming from misogynistic stan. And I can't entertain that.
Yeah.
Like,
Get it away from me.
I'm like, you know what? I post this video. I go to bed. It's 4 a.m. You're
up.
You're typing, Parag. Someone is losing, and it's not me. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be mean, but sometimes you really need to see the loser in the hater and be like, you're a loser.
I think what you're talking about is perspective as well.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I want to ask you something. So we joke about it all the time. We call ourselves intergenerational besties.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am a lot older than Senna, which makes me a lot older than you because you're the youngest
But you're
guest we've
actually
ever
the
had.
youngest person we've ever had on our show, by the way. Like, absolutely. I was like, I'm so excited because even with Gen Zs, like, there's such difference. And now, like, we live such different realities because we're so diverse as well and so niche. And I was, like, really excited to get this perspective today.
You're
Yeah,
done?
yeah, but
You're
I'm
done.
done.
Okay,
That was
that's
my
great, thank you. And so what I want to know is that I watched a video that you created recently around, you were challenging people to say, would you have done it challenging your generation to say, would you have done it any differently back in the day, back in the apartheid? So you say like, you would have done all this thing and this one was wrong and this one did, like, firstly, tell us about that post.
Yeah.
And then also tell us a little bit about the thought that you had behind it.
Okay, so there's this book I read that kind of like documented Tsietsi Mashinini's efforts in the struggle and him organizing Youth Day, the first official one. And I think from reading things like that and engaging with material like that, I really realized just how difficult it was to be a freedom fighter. Regardless of your affiliation, it was very difficult. I think for my generation, I get to make the TikToks, get paid. I get to be a guest on a podcast. Yes, I'll deal with a bit of backlash from this homophobe and whatever, or this person replying very rudely to my tweet. But none of that will ever compare to having to be in exile. None of that will compare to having to being tortured. I mean, people were being hung upside down and being beaten to the point of, I don't know, vomiting or being choked or whatever. People being put in graves and being taunted, like, we're gonna cover the grave, and then as it's covered, then they take you out. And like, when people from my generation have all of these like assertions, like, I think I would have been better.
Or like a sellout, like
that
like, person was a sellout.
Oh, I'm like, firstly, it's easy for us to kind of like, I guess, analyze everything and say this should have been done because it's already happened. That's the first thing. It's already happened. And we have access to history. And the reason why we have access to history is a privilege. That you have history so you won't do it again. But my generation really does take things lightly. I'm like, guys, you go to here and then the matcha's out, you cry on TikTok. I went there, there was no matcha. Can you guys believe it? This is ridiculous. I've been coming here for the past 3 years. Today, when I've had the worst week of my life, they will, and I'm like, God. Your biggest inconvenience is a drink. Someone had to flee the country that they were trying to liberate. So I think our generation really, I think, takes apartheid very lightly. That's the first thing. They take it very lightly. To them, it was a minor inconvenience. It was merely a blacks here, whites here, and it ends there.
That's actually funny that you're saying that because it, like, that's how I have thought white people characterize apartheid. But what you're saying is that young people in this country, young black people are saying that this is just a thing of the past.
Yeah, it was. It's a minor inconvenience, and it scares me a lot because it's also why a lot of these conflicts, even online, are between other black people because half of the black community is on their, I'm too privileged to care. Or, no, guys, like, let's all just move on. Let's all calm down. Right? Because, I mean, last year, there was this young white boy who, like, I don't know if he still does it. I don't know. But his entire, like, profile was him mocking black women. Right?
Whoa. Are you kidding?
And that's how he got views. Right? And whatever. And the number of young black people who were there, like, guys, it's not that serious. Like, I mean, it's just not that serious. Like, let's all just, like, you know, let's let him be. Not long after, he actually said a racial slur. And I'm like, exactly. This is a gateway to
it's a stepping stone, 100%.
Yeah, like,
gateway drug.
If you let someone mock you, you're giving them, you know, give someone an inch.
Specifically black women. Yeah. They're the easiest target for.
Exactly. And so I think with a lot of my generation, we kind of like put our current struggles on a bigger pedestal. We're struggling, yes, but I don't know, we're obsessed with being the perpetual victim. Yeah. So we always feel like whatever we're going through is worse than what the next person is going through or what the other people have gone through. So a lot of people kind of like think that apartheid was, okay, every black person was poor or a domestic worker and a gardener. And then at some point, this guy named Nelson went to prison. I don't know why, but he went to prison and he came out. Then he was the president. Then we could like now go to parkers with white people, and and that's like, and that's,
see you at Tasha's.
Yeah, I see you at Tasha's, babe. Like, madam, next Friday, me and you, and that's like a party for them, you know. That's it. I'm like,
and
no,
it's done now.
It's done, girl. Like, I'm like, no. And so I think it's because they actually don't know history as much as they think they do. And that scares me. Because we can't have all these opinions related to the current state of South Africa if we don't even understand how South Africa became what it is right now. So I think more young people need to open a history book. Because a lot of the time, during last November, when people were like showing us research done on GBV during apartheid, white women, black women, colored women, Indian women, how it affected them then versus now, and why it's imperative that the rights of South African women be prioritized. People are like, in apartheid, that didn't happen. They're like, no, that can't be right. I'm like, read a book, babe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's because they refuse to really... So everything that they know about our struggle icons is from Twitter.
That's so scary, but also it's like, I think it's also amongst black people. You and I say, I think I've said this to you, is that looking back on it, I think as black people we had more solidarity when we were, and even white people who were protesting against the struggle, when we had a common enemy. And the beauty, or I guess the not beauty, but the inadvertent consequence of so much freedom is that we're so individualized, and as we're getting better in class as well as black people, and we're the most diverse, we're getting enter into rooms we never could have before. I do fear that like we're taking it for granted and not really having agency. Like, what are we doing about?
Yeah, that's what I always say to people: speak to your grandmother. Speak to your grandmother. If you don't want to read a book, that's fine, but speak to your grandmother and ask her her feelings about the struggle. I mean, I remember, like, my grandmother used to be very skeptical of going to a clinic, right? And she was like, no, they killed black people. I'm like, black people have a history of, like, I don't know, medical, like, skepticism because there was biological warfare at some point. Yeah. And I'm like, till this day, she's terrified. She's like, I'm scared. And I'm like, do you think that people who are terrified of going to a clinic, even in 2026, because I heard a rumor or I saw someone in 1970, whatever, get killed unfairly, do you think that was easy to go through? You can just get a prescription for your flu medication, babe, and just be on your way. And that's what I'm trying, and that's why I think it is. Like, my generation, we have a lot of criticism. Like nowadays, our criticism is of the criticism. We're not criticizing anything real, which is like, that's why sometimes that's why I'm like, guys, this doesn't really matter. Like, you don't really need to talk about this right now.
It's not.
It's not.
It's
not.
I have to end this interview now. We've had the best time, but I know that you spoke about the fact that people look at you and are so intimidated because of how articulate you are. You are more than, like, you're not just calling everybody out on Twitter. You have so many interests. You're so multifaceted. You're so talented in so many things. But you're also, like, a pop culture, like... one of the best pop culture commentators that I follow. I love your commentary. So I want to play a game with you, right? Yeah. I'm going to name a pop culture moment or topic, and I want you to say if you're going to either, if you think as a culture we should either defend it, interrogate it, or dismiss it. Okay, cool. So why do you think, the notion of loving content creators who've said some vile things about women on their platform. We need to interrogate that more. We need to dismiss it or...
Interrogate
it.
Because I think dismissal will lead to more problems. Let's interrogate first.
To interrogate why we love content creators like
why
this.
Why are we attracted to inflammatory shit? Like, why do we love that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Second one. What are we going to do about Hey Neighbor? Are we going to defend it, interrogate it? Just look at your... Did you lose your tickets? Hey Neighbor, what are we... It's 2026.
Which was like... Hey Neighbor, I think... You know what? Dismiss it. I don't know.
Really?
I have nothing to say. Hey Neighbor, you flopped. Bye. Good night. Good night. My friend bought our tickets, got the money back. Good night.
Really? Are you one of the lucky people that got your tickets?
Bye. I mean, what are we going to do? We never saw Doja. We never saw Leo. So, goodbye.
Goodbye. We got nothing for you.
We got nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Soft life, discourse, and divine feminine energy. What do we need to do? We need to defend it, interrogate it, or dismiss it.
That's tough, eh?
I know.
That's tough. I don't know how I feel about this.
About the soft life, divine feminine energy. Actually,
can we have both?
I don't know.
Not in the way that it is so...
The thing about it is, it's cope. You know, like soft life is it's cope.
Cope.
It's cope. That's why I'm like I'm torn between interrogation and dismissing, because it's cope. Like I don't know, like like every time I see like a soft life coach, I'm like, are you convincing us or
yourself that we
also,
can step into this
also,
divine?
Is this the first time you've said this ever? Like, are you also thinking about this as you record? So I'm always like, I was like, what? So I don't know. Maybe okay. Interrogate it.
Interrogate it. We keep it. Let's interrogate it.
It's fascinating though.
Do you know what I want to ask you?
Yeah.
Can we keep, dismiss, or interrogate? I'm just a girl. I really am interested because we have diverging thoughts on this. Are we keeping this? I'm just a girl. What is it?
It needs to go.
You think it needs to
she
go?
loves it
I love
though,
it.
best.
I think it needs to stay. I think we need to interrogate it.
It's
because it can be too, like, I don't think it's saying or like celebrating ditzy sort of behavior. I think it's actually, like, I don't know, for me, I feel like women or girls are much more prone to showing their vulnerabilities and the things that they're not good at. And I just think it's normalizing that and being like, okay, like, I love me a girl dinner. I'm not going to cook. I don't know. But I feel like we should keep it.
My biggest beef with it is that it was hijacked by men.
How? When? How did
It
men?
was hijacked by men, and now men use it as an insult.
Is it real?
Yeah, so like that's my only problem is that anytime men get their hands on things, forget it.
No, but seriously, I
Forget
haven't
it.
heard men get hold of it. Have you?
I've not heard this.
Oh,
What
the
is
thing
it?
is, I've seen it. She's like, oh my gosh, guys, your girlfriend's so dumb. Just let her be. She's just a girl. I'm like, whoa.
No.
I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, you see, the wrong person got their hands on this. I'm like,
And now we can't have nice things.
It's like Slay Queen. They're wrong.
The wrong
Yeah.
person. Now they're
Yes.
using it to like describe
and baddie.
baddie.
The thing is, that's what I'm saying, is that like the thing is, I don't have beef with it. It's just that the wrong people have their fingers in it.
But then I want to reappropriate it. How many times are we going to come up with amazing things and then, I mean, even queer culture, they have slay, and then you get people
Clock
appropriate,
it.
not taking your stuff. Sorry,
There's
no.
a girl who
Look
made
at take your stuff.
Yes, they take it there.
There's a girl who was like, she's like, to be honest, I think there are too many gay characters on TV. Let's clock that. I'm like, girl.
We are so out of time. It has been the best interview. I am such a fan. We are such fans.
Thank
and
you.
we want to have you back. We still have so much time. So
I'll be back. Anytime.
do you have anything coming up, and where can people find you and your incredible content?
Okay, so the podcast is currently on hold because we're trying to find a new way to do it.
Okay.
So we're finding a new approach because the way we did it, it was great, but it needs a different model. So I know a lot of people have been asking me, where is YPL? I swear, guys, I didn't abandon it. I don't have beef with anyone. I know there's a rumor about that. But no. It will be coming back, I think the same time as it started last year. New look, new feel. Yeah, that's it. And everywhere else, you know where to find me. I hope.
I do.
Yeah.
And then, guys, on that note, please follow us or subscribe at least on YouTube. It really helps us. And then wherever you get podcasts. Till next time.